right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul, and thank you for tuning in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. We'll be taking your phone calls tonight. 412-575-2600 is the number. You can always reach me on Twitter, at Richie Walsh, and we can talk a little bit about what's going on with the Pitt basketball team up in Syracuse today. They lost a tough one by 11 points against the Orange. They were in this game at half, but, you know, the Orange are just too good, and it wasn't a good matchup for Pitt today. They went on a couple runs, and the Panthers fought back each time at the end of the first half, then again in the second half, and it just wasn't their day. And now they got to look forward to playing Duke and Zion Williamson. That guy is unbelievable. The best player in the country is going to come here on Tuesday and take on the Panthers. He was a highlight reel today, and we'll show you some of his plays coming up at 11 o'clock on KDKA. If you haven't seen him yet, he made this one spectacular play. Basically drove the length of the court through the entire Virginia team and dunked at the end. One of the best plays of the year, definitely the best play of the night. But it was a good win for West Virginia. About an hour south of here, the Mountaineers with one of the biggest upsets of the day, knocking off 7th-ranked Kansas for their first conference win. And it was a good one for Bob Huggins and the Mountaineers. Their first conference win. They lost 5 straight. And maybe this will turn things around in Morgantown for the Mountaineers. Duquesne plays tomorrow. Robert Morris also won today, beating Bryant. They're out on their road trip. They head to Central Connecticut. The Colonials do on Monday for an early afternoon 3:30 tip-off against Central Connecticut. That should be a pretty good game for Robert Morse. We got some good basketball in this area, if you've been paying attention. If you're a college basketball fan, I am, and I like when teams are really good. And especially the one that we've seen, there are two actually that we've seen that have been good the last decade or so, or Pitt and Robert Morris made it to the NCAA tournament, and they're usually competitive in NEC. But it looks like Duquesne is coming on in the A-10. They're in the middle of the pack. They're kind of tied for second, a game and a half out of first place. But this is a team that maybe, I mean, if the schedule sets up decent for them, and if they could win some of these games and stay in the hunt, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Duquesne can do some damage in the A-10. They got to win the games they're supposed to, maybe knock off a couple teams that they're not supposed to win, and they got to win games, and that's plain and simple. And I think Keith Dambrot is doing a great job at Duquesne right now, kind of turning that program around. Overshadowed a little bit by what Jeff Capel is doing at Pitt, and he's doing a tremendous job. And when you look at this Pitt team, I think they're going to be a tournament team next year. I still think they're between the 5 and the 7 win. I thought 4 or 5 wins at the beginning of the year, but they've played much better than I thought, much better than I think anyone thought. And there's finally some excitement over at the Peterson Event Center. I know I've been to a couple games this year, and you could feel the energy back in the Pete. Last year, 0 energy, 0. The year before, hardly any. This year, it feels like that Pitt team of back in the early 2000s, the team that was so good with DeJuan Blair and guys like that, Levance Fields, and when you think of Pitt early on in the Pete era, I think that's what you're turning into. And the one thing I love about Jeff Capel is the way he's able to recruit, bringing in a couple 4-star guys that are making an impact. Trey McGowan's, Xavier Johnson, 2 guards that potentially could be NBA guards, 3-4 years from now. I don't know if they would ever. I don't know if they could leave early, or if they would leave early, but these are 2 guys you can build a team around. You need to get one more guy, and one more guy, a big-time recruit, maybe a one-and-done guy. Those are the kind of recruits that Jamie Dixon never went after, and I think Jeff Capel will and is doing so right now, and he can get in those living rooms. So if you just keep getting turned down, eventually one guy's going to say yeah. And if it's that one guy that can make a difference, you could bring in a freshman, a big guy underneath. That's what they could use right now. Maybe a really good outside shooting threat. Those are kind of the positions that you need right now with this Pitt basketball team that could really make an impact in the ACC. And this team can be right up at the top of the conference. I think one thing with basketball, and you've seen this, that one player can really turn things around if you have some complementary players. And not only do they have complementary players, they got really good guards. And they got some good young talent on this team. And look, they play 8, 9 guys, right? And you would have to think that maybe next year with the new group and finally the first full year for Jeff Capel to go out and recruit guys that he wants, the guys that he has a whole year trying to get, that they're going to make an impact next year. So out of the 8, 9 guys that play now, and maybe we'll say 10 guys that are on this roster right now, you would think that you got like maybe 4 to 6 that will be making an impact next year, and you'll bring in 3 more guys, and hopefully one of those guys is a starter, maybe 2, that really can make an impact in the ACC. And I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see a freshman starter next year making an impact, helping these guys like McGowan's and Johnson and some of the other young talent that they have right now. But I'm really optimistic about Pitt basketball right now. And I'm not saying that because, I think everyone that watches the show knows that, I'm a Pitt guy, and that I root for Pitt, but I also try to cover them and as fair as possible, and as fair as anyone, I think. And I think that they're going to be really good next year. And we could talk about Pitt because I have to go to a break right now. We can talk about Pitt on the other side of this break. 412-575-2600 is the number. You can always reach out to me at Twitter, at Richie Walsh. Got to take a break. Back in a couple minutes.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, putting new roofs on Pittsburgh homes for over 25 years. Call Ireland Contracting at 1-800-NEW-ROOF.